He's pissed. He liked Derek Carr. That's why he came to the Raiders to play with his college buddy, Derek Carr.
He said some stuff about the Raiders.
I'm not feeling you anyway because when I signed up to come over in the trade,
that's what I'm saying.
You might have told me something totally different than what we're doing right now.
If I'm Josh McDaniels or Dave Ziegler, I'm thinking, man, well, what the hell's going on here?
I think that Davante Adams understands that this isn't a team constructed right now to win a championship.
You told me that Carr was going to be here.
I mean, I'm not sure what they promised him or told him from the very beginning, but there definitely does seem a disconnect. And
I'm watching how you treated our running back in Jacobs. You moved on from Waller.
He also starts to be aware that his football mortality is becoming more and more of a reality.
Probably say he was expecting to be with Derek Carr throughout his career there because that was his buddy and his friend.
After causing quite a stir in the media, wide receiver of the Las Vegas Raiders, Davante Adams, has responded, has followed up on the comments that he made in an interview with The Ringer, where he talked about the Raiders offense, how he's not optimistic about what the offense is doing, and he still seems like he's critical of the decision to move on from Derek Carr, and we're not quite sure exactly what the Raiders did promise Davante Adams to get him in a Raiders uniform. We don't know exactly, but Davante Adams is paid handsomely, and his prospects of leaving are very slim because his contract is pretty much fully guaranteed for the next 2 years. But what exactly did he say, and what did he mean by what he said, and what does this follow-up mean for the Raiders and Davante Adams? We know originally he said, "We don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now." We talked about this yesterday in the context of the offense and what the front office has decided to do in this past offseason. And in the Ringer article, he said he's going to have to try to buy into this and try to be as optimistic as possible. And it's not what I expected to happen, but it's something that is the reality now. Let's just break down exactly what happened. What did happen? Davante Adams invited a reporter to his home, Miran Fader from The Ringer, New York Times best-selling author. He invited this reporter to his home to talk about the Raiders and to talk about the main lead was, he's done it without Aaron Rodgers. How amazing. We all expected Davante Adams to ball out without Aaron Rodgers. This guy is a top wide receiver. We see top wide receivers always get their numbers regardless of who's at quarterback most of the time. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are great examples of that last year. But he invites this reporter into his home, and we can assume he has control over what's released in the interview, right? We can assume that if there's a comment in there that he's like, hey, I don't know if I should keep that in there, she would probably oblige and then cross that out. But Davante Adams talked about the fluff for a long time, racking up some big numbers last year without Aaron Rodgers, and then he slipped in his real comments. And these two comments that we mentioned earlier are the real comments and the real message that he is trying to get out there. Yes, of course, he's committed to the team. He has pretty much a fully guaranteed contract for the next 2 years. He could not even force his way out of this team if he wanted to. So of course he wants what's best for the Raiders. But he decided by doing this interview, by inviting this person into his home, by leaving these comments in this article that we broke down yesterday, he decided to have this message out there that he is not satisfied with what happened with the Raiders last year, that he is not satisfied with the plan and the prospects of the offense for this upcoming 2023 season. And as some of the clips that we played earlier mentioned, it seems like he was sold on something different. It seems like he was sold on something different in terms of what the plan was. Seems like he was sold on being with Derek Carr for a long time. And look, if the Carr family doesn't seem to get along with Josh McDaniels that much, David Carr definitely does not seem like he likes Josh McDaniels that much. And Davante Adams, really good friends with the Carr family, came to the Raiders to play with them. He clearly is privy to some of the negative thoughts that they have about Josh McDaniels. So what power does Davante Adams have? He is locked in with the Raiders for the next 2 years. All he can do is use his megaphone and speak out to the media and make a couple comments that at least puts a magnifying glass on who he thinks is responsible for some of the problems with the team. And it's not like he just called up this reporter and said, hey, come over and let's do an interview. This is vetted. This is planned. There's millions and millions in dollars behind somebody like Davante Adams, probably consulted with his management team and his agent before this even happened. And because he made those comments, it made national, international NFL headlines all around the NFL. What is everybody talking about this week? And what will they be talking about for the coming weeks and the upcoming season? Is Davante Adams happy with the Raiders? And he is a smart guy. guy and knew the ramifications of what he did and what he said in that interview. And if you don't think that, if you think he just accidentally let a comment slip and he's just being a little critical, well, I think you're not really giving him that much credit. I think he's a thoughtful guy with what he says to the media. And that is why after the backlash happened, after this became international news, Davante Adams trying to clap back against these rumors, trying to settle everything down because he knows he's stuck with the Raiders for the next 2 years, and all anybody could talk about when you mention Davante Adams is the fact that he does not seem happy. So he posts a picture with general manager Dave Ziegler here on Instagram. This is clearly from the camp that Davante Adams hosted, which was likely a week or two before the actual news broke yesterday. But he posted this on Instagram yesterday, Ian Rappaport, showing the Davante Adams Instagram story, the man with Dave Ziegler, the general manager of the Raiders. And it is quite odd. And this is the first thing that I thought when I saw this. Why isn't there a picture with Josh McDaniels? Yes, he says he's criticizing the front office moves, but it's mainly the offensive philosophy, and Josh McDaniels is all over the offense. He is the play caller. It is likely his decision on personnel issues with the offensive side of the football at least. And Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels were a package deal. That is what happened. Mark Davis was interviewing Dave Ziegler, found out through Dave Ziegler that Josh McDaniels would be available if he hired Dave Ziegler, and he went ahead and did it. So maybe it's just an attitude thing or a demeanor thing why Davante Adams seems to not have any selfie pictures or any pictures with genius Josh McDaniels. But in terms of the football decisions, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler are likely 100% on the same page. Keep in mind, these guys are longtime friends going all the way back to college. So who knows, was Davante Adams told to post this story, told to sort of calm down all the noise, or did he do it himself? We know immediately after Tyree Wilson was drafted, Peter King of NBC Sports, who was in the draft room, noted that Josh McDaniels, the first thing he said to the new draft pick Tyree Wilson is how to conduct himself with the media.
Something I hadn't seen before, sort of. The first extended conversation that McDaniels had with him, there was a big chunk of it about media training. Say the right things.
So the Raiders, under Josh McDaniels, are really concerned and really cautious about what players say to the media. So even though people try to act like, oh, they let players speak their minds, we know before that they've monitored the social media of players in the past, and that's been something that players weren't too happy about. And we know that they give players instructions on how to conduct themselves in the presser and what to say and what not to say. And there's not anything necessarily wrong with that. The question is Davante Adams going rogue here and trying to calm down the rumors, or is this something again that is directed by the team telling a player to calm down the noise because, hey, you're under contract at least for the next 2 years? But we at least know this story got so big that Davante Adams had to go out of his way to calm down these rumors. And look, there's a lot of noise around the Raiders. Who knows if Mark Davis made the wrong decision? A lot of people believe he made the wrong decision by not keeping Rich Bisaccia, or at least trying to retain Gruden against the NFL's wishes, and instead he let Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler take over this team and completely rebuild it. But then before the draft, right before the draft, in an interview with The Athletic, you had Mark Davis making these weird comments about Dave Ziegler, saying how he's young, he's never been in this position before, it takes time to learn all the tricks of the trade. And I think the people he confides in might not be giving him the full picture because it's so damn competitive, but he's going to do great. So weird comments saying that the people around him do not give him good insight and that the GM job is very difficult for the young man. So it seems like Davante Adams is not satisfied with the front office, even if he posts a selfie with the GM after already causing a storm in the media. And it seemed like before the draft, Mark Davis sounded concerned with this front office and started making comments in addition to these in the same Athletic interview saying, I just hire people and see whether or not they do a great job. So not only from the owner, but from the players, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler have so much riding on this season. You got a lot of eyes on these guys, and if it does not work out, they are going to be held fully responsible. If Jimmy Garoppolo goes on IR, everybody's going to be saying, hey, why didn't you prioritize another quarterback? Why did you even move on from Derek Carr? And if they have a losing season, even with Jimmy Garoppolo, you have to ask yourself, is Davante Adams going to be cool with this at 31, 32 years old? But on the flip side, we got to look at the other side. If they pull this it off, if they pull this off and maybe compete for the division, make a playoff run, it will totally shake the hearts and minds of all the fans in the Raiders and the greater NFL. And it will be a shocking, true underdog story because everybody is doubting this team right now. Check out some of these other videos on my channel you may have missed. We're pumping out Raiders videos all the time on this channel. And I got NFL videos on WiFiWillie NFL, and I'll be gaming on WiFiWillie Live. So check all that out. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.